Hi, this is James Melendez, James the Wine Guy, here to talk about Chardonnay. It's a really important white wine varietal in the world, a workhorse in many instances, and it's revered and equally unrevered by some people as well. Now, this is a wine grape that has about 400,000 acres planted, or 160,000 hectares. It's a cross between two grapes, the Gouais blanc and the Pinot Noir. Now, there is a belief that the Gouais blanc came from Central Europe and transported by the Romans to France. And it's important for France because you think of Chablis, you think of champagne, and that's why I call it a workhorse. When you think of it's really part of the classic champagne sparkling wines, the Champagne Brut. It is a constituent varietal in that. And in many ways, when I think it crosses the Atlantic, comes to the U.S., and becomes a California-style Chardonnay, there becomes some unreverence towards this grape. That is that I think people took a lot of the malolactic and turned it into a buttery, oaky wine, and the oakiness is what people fell in love with. The buttery quality, the creamy quality, versus maybe the more austere, lean, mineral-driven quality of the wine. When you think of Chablis, you think of that style. So there's anywhere in between, and I think what's happened is the pendulum has swung back somewhere in the middle. People are now thinking this wine is just a kiss of oak and a little bit of that artistic input from the winemaker is what is characterizing and recharacterizing Chardonnay here in California, for example, or Chardonnay abroad, or Chardonnay from, its interpretation in France. I think France is just really that original qualitative view of Chardonnay as really not kissing that oak, but really giving that mineral-driven quality for food. And I think it's a wine that is just misunderstood in that way. And in some ways, it's the wine that people turn away now. Oh no, none of the Pinot Chardonnay, please. And I did say Pinot Chardonnay because it's what it's known by. However, the Pinot portion has been driven out. So it's just commonly referred to, most often referred to as Chardonnay. Now, I think for me, my exploration of Chardonnay has been going through that same cycle of understanding Chardonnay as being that highly capable wine of picking up oak notes, and maybe doing so in a way that is both good and bad. The good could be that it's has that capacity to take in some new French oak and take an expression from it that perhaps other wines can't. But it also can be overtaken in terms of being that creamy, oaky, buttery that has become almost that tooth-achingly sweet, or not necessarily sweet, but that fragrant quality of that spice and that creaminess that I think it's off-put a lot of people to go back to the Chardonnay category. These are great examples of Chardonnay that have that more balanced pendulum in the middle swing, shall we say. So you should try more Chardonnays in terms of maybe the more mineral-driven, if that has turned you off from trying the sweet side, and vice versa. If you've had a lot of the mineral-driven, maybe going in the middle. I don't recommend going to this high-end tier of absolute oak and absolute malolactic fermentation, because I think that becomes a characterization that is not really what people are seeking these days. I think palates around the planet have become much more sophisticated. People are tasting more things in wines that they prefer to have or not have. So that is the story of Chardonnay. The story of Chardonnay is not done, and I think that it still has a place at the table, and it's one that I think is really the food wine. But more when I go back to the middle pendulum swing is where I like this wine to be. And of course, j'adore. I love champagne. I love sparkling wine. And where would we be without it in champagne or sparkling wine regions around the world? Well, of course, there's wine regions in the world that don't use Chardonnay. But when you think California sparkling wine, it's really the core of that sparkling requirement. And for me, it's just really that journey back into tasting these wines. And when you think of the clonal differences compared to Pinot Noir, the clonal differences are really, I think, built into having a wine that can withstand maybe certain climatic or terroir expressions, or these characteristics that require a different clone to be planted in a certain area, because that maybe is what the terrain, the soil requires, versus maybe on the Pinot Noir side, where you have the clones that are expressing certain qualities of Pinot Noir, and bringing them together maybe makes more of that balanced wine. So you don't hear a lot of clonal talk or even the clonal displays on the back panels of Chardonnay. So just a brief video on Chardonnay. For more wine reviews, please go to jamesthewineguy.com. Please subscribe to my videos on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Vimeo, Google+, Pinterest. Salud.